Welcome to Hustle and Faith. This podcast is dedicated to helping Christian women who want to analyze, apply, and amplify their God-given talents. We accomplish this by discussing topics such as business, self-improvement, health and beauty, and my random thoughts about life from a Christian perspective. I'm your host, Latasha Johnson. In today's episode, we're going to discuss 5 things you need to leave behind in 2023. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I don't know about you guys, but this year feels like it has flown by, right? I feel like someone just pressed the fast forward button and here we are in December. And if you're like me, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm trying to recover from that. There are some things on my to-do list that I have not crossed off yet. And so I want to make sure that I start 2024 with a healthy mindset and really intentional about crossing off some of these things that I need to work on. And it got me thinking, you know what? What are 5 things that I need to leave behind in 2023? And so if you're like me, I think you're going to enjoy this list. Number 1, fear. I have, the past 3 years definitely in general have been kind of challenging for me. I'll leave in the description some of the reasons why that has been the case. But let's just say I have less than ideal neighbors that I would like to have. We'll just leave it at that. But the past 3 years have been rather challenging, but I have grown so much. There have been so many things in my life that I realized that I was fearing unnecessarily. I had nothing to fear but fear itself. And on the other side of fear really is that ability to grow because we're getting outside of our comfort zone. Sometimes God doesn't always want us to go looking for the easy route, if you will. Like, we can't avoid everything. There are some situations that we need to grow through. And He provides us with the necessary resources and the people in our lives to help us get through those difficult, challenging situations. And I am definitely a testimony to that. I've shared some stories throughout the podcast and some upcoming videos that I'll be sharing as well of how much I have been in a position to grow because I was willing to face my fears head on. And I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that I have arrived, because I have not, but I'm much further than where I was. And I think one of the main reasons why I'm further than where I was is because of number 2, selfishness. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I do have a little bit of selfishness in me, right? And I think we all do to some degree, and we do need to have some of that because we need to be protective of our time. But when I'm talking about selfishness, it's because I was failing to look at the big picture. Many times I would pray to God, why aren't you moving fast enough for me? Like, why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? And I just didn't realize He was basically telling me, hey, there are other players in this game called life. And I need to make sure that these folks are where they need to be because they might be in a position to provide me with the blessing that I want to give you. And because we all have free will, and God is omnipotent, but we need to allow for the flexibility that it may take a while for us to get our particular blessing that we've been praying for months, weeks, years, right? So we need to allow that flexibility. And when you have some selfishness inside of you, like I said, I did, and I do, and I'm working on it, you're more apt not to look at the big picture. Again, life does not revolve around you. It doesn't. As much as we would like to, it just does not. And so we have to realize that God has there's other plans at play. Okay. And that's not to say that He's not going to bless you with that particular prayer that you prayed, but we need to be open to the fact that there will be detours. Okay. And just because you hear silence right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a no. It could be not yet, not right now. But if you're selfish, you're not going to realize that, right? And so I hate to say this too, but that leads me to number 3, laziness. So there were times when I didn't hear from God that I just kind of gave up. I just was like, you know what? I'm just tired. I'm tired of praying for such and such. I am just gonna kind of chill and just do the bare minimum at this point. And again, as someone who's a perfectionist, for me to have gotten to that point for certain things that I had been waiting for, it had been a minute. All right. But that laziness is something that we should always fight against. Okay. We want to take our lessons from the ant, not the sluggard. Right. So we're always supposed to be constantly working towards our goal and having faith in the outcome that God is going to cause all things to work together for our good, whether we see it or not. But he's not going to do it if you're not putting in your part. Okay. So many of us are praying for certain things and we haven't even gotten ourselves together. Right. So for example, if you're praying for an A, God, please help me ace this test, or please help me get this job, and you haven't done any studying and you haven't applied for any jobs, what in the world do you expect him to do? Like, give him something to work with, right? So that was one of the things that I definitely want to leave behind in 2023 is the propensity to sometimes want to just chill if I don't see things manifesting as fast as I would like. Okay. There's no such thing as instant gratification. And number 4, lying, right? A little embarrassing to admit this, but I was lying to myself, right? So I was lying to myself. Yes, I'm doing this. I am working out every day. I wasn't working out every day, y'all. There were some days that I was tired. And so in my mind, I saw myself working out. Physically, not so much. So I'm doing a better job of making sure that I really am addressing my strengths and my weaknesses. And those things that are deemed as a weakness, I'm making sure that I create little mini checklists to keep me on track. And it's something that has been super helpful to me. And I'm sure you'll find it to be of benefit as well. Journaling is something that I'm very, very big on. I've got a gratitude journal. I've got a prayer journal. I've got a 1 sentence a day journal. I've got a freestyle journal. I got journals galore. Okay. And it's very beneficial to me to have those types of journals because it helps keep me accountable. Because quite frankly, there have been times where I've kind of slacked off on the journaling. Again, getting back to the laziness. And that's when I noticed, a kind of like a downward spiral and how productive I was being. So we cannot improve if we're not willing to be honest with ourselves. If we see that we're failing in a certain area and that's something that we desire to get stronger in, just address it. Acknowledge the fact that, you know what? I have issues with making sure that I exercise consistently. I need to make sure that I go to bed early so I can wake up early and exercise in the morning instead of in the evening. Because if I wait until the evening, everything under the sun gets in the way and then I get tired and then I'm back to just exercising in my mind, which is not going to do anything, right? And last but not least, we need to leave behind, especially me, in 2024, is being ungrateful, right? And I hate to admit this, but there have been times where I had to Tasha, you are being a spoiled brat right now, because there were certain things that I wanted, certain places I wanted to go. And quite frankly, my bank account was just like, not today and probably not this year. And That's not me being negative, but it was just the situation. I was just not in the position to do what I wanted to do at that point in time. That's not to say that that would never change in the future, but for me to be all upset about not being able to do it right then and there, that's wrong, right? God has given me so many other blessings. And for me to focus on that one thing that I couldn't do right then and there, I'm going to be honest, that was embarrassing. And quite frankly, I repented and I'm like, God, I'm so sorry. You know what? There have been so many things that you've given me. And that's where the gratitude journal comes into play, guys. The moment you think, oh, or you're getting upset or you're like, oh, I can't do XYZ. If you've got a gratitude journal, that's the time you bust that thing out and start reading about all the different blessings that God's given you. And I guarantee you, regardless of how down you may feel at that point in time, it's going to completely change once you start reading that journal. Okay? So hopefully this list resonates with you. These are 5 things that I want to leave behind in 2023. And I'm curious, what will you leave behind in 2023? Be sure to comment be sure to comment below, because I'm very curious to know what you'll leave behind in 2023. And be sure to check out our next video, because I'm going to be addressing how to make 2024 your best year yet. So be sure to check out that video too. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good one.